Someone going to say action or something like that? Why did you call it Real World Records, and how did it start? It's 10 years ago.
Yeah, I called a group of people about 1980 it was to try and get together a festival, because we were getting really excited by some of this music we were hearing.
What music was that?
Well, there was African music was the thing for me, I think, because I used to be a drummer. And
were you a good drummer?
Yeah, I was a terrible drummer, but very enthusiastic. And in fact, Thomas Bruman, who was a journalist that I've met, running a small magazine called the Bristol Recorder, he was also a failed drummer. But we were both really enthusiastic about some of the stuff we were hearing, and we couldn't hear it anywhere. So we got this festival with a group of about 8 people together, and it took place in '82 in Shepton Mallet. It was the first WOMAD.
Records an outgrowth of that?
So Real World, yeah, grew out of that. And Thomas was saying to me very often, you know, we're getting all these fantastic performers over to England. You know, we've got the studio, we can't get them recorded. No one's interested in taking a contract with these guys, so let's do it. And I'd always resisted the idea of being a record company, because I know every artist at some point, you know, goes through this love-hate thing with their record company. And you know, on the good days, you know, you feel supported and loved, and on the bad days, you feel exploited. And so I didn't want to cross that fence. But Thomas eventually persuaded me, and Real World got started 10 years ago.
Paint me a picture of the river and let it flow. Just let it flow. It will flow and wash away our differences, and love will grow.
Why is it located in Bath?
Well, I like the west of England. I used to live in London and then moved out because there was water and hills, and you could have a different lifestyle. I remember the first time when we had WOMAD, and there was this sleepy little English valley, and this lawn was full of Burundi drummers, dancing and shouting, and the whole valley was echoing with this fantastic sound, and it was very exciting. I think we got passionate, you know, we were like evangelists, you know, we really felt there's some magical music happening here, great performers, stuff that not everyone's going to enjoy, but there's a much bigger audience than know about this already. So we were determined really to build something, and then it was the same with the record label.
So you became the owner of a record label?
I guess it was 1989 or something like that we actually decided to get Real World Records going.
You mean I didn't want to make it sound like a landlord or something?
Oh, that's right. There would always be these little jams going on backstage and in the dressing rooms between people who couldn't speak to each other. So we thought we should take advantage of this, and we started inviting, when we had the English Festival in Reading, every year we invited everybody down for a week and kept the cafe open 24 hours, and people could meet in the cafe and go off and record together. I mean, we had to have certain projects to pay for the week, but it was, a lot of it was open interaction, and it was extraordinary just to see people sniffing each other out like animals. And then checking each other out with music and finding ways to work together and create something interesting.
He just played some fantastic drums on one of my songs.
Now, who is funding this?
Well, we were in a way, really, so it's partly...
You say we, you
it's
mean
me,
you.
yeah. And
You're supplying the studio?
The studio.
Room and board?
Yeah. And then we would try and make records and sell some records to also fund it.
Now, I'm curious with the records. Like,
Yeah.
you record all these different musicians. Now, suppose I wanted to get a real world record of a specific musician.
Yeah.
You have the album covers without text on them.
I've always believed that the artwork on a record is really important, and the records that I have loved and grown up with, the artwork has always been a big part of that.
Like?
Or whether it's sort of, I don't know, Otis Redding or Beatles or whatever it was that, I mean, the Beatles album was the first album that I ever bought. I remembered the records more by the pictures and the feel of the graphics than I did by the text. Maybe that's because I'm more visually orientated than text orientated, but so I always wanted to try and get a series of sleeves where you didn't have these big advertising, promotional text all over the pictures. Most marketing people and label people think I'm crazy with this campaign, and the argument that gets to me is you're hurting the sales of these artist records by this arrogant policy. But I'm going to pursue it as long as I can, because I think it does help set us apart.
About the phrase musical apartheid.
Musical apartheid is a phrase that Jeffrey Ariema came up with, and I know he felt that if you didn't sing in the language that dominated in English, if your music wasn't of a style which was commonplace on the radio systems all around the world, then you had a very small chance of getting your music heard. And he felt very strongly that it was like a sort of a cultural apartheid. And in that way, I think with both WOMAD Festival and Real World Records, we're trying to crash through all that and open it up to everybody. Right at the beginning, we said, what are we going to try and base this music around? And it was passion and soul. I mean, I think Real World is a soul music label, and that's a big interpretation of the word soul. Thanks, I really appreciate it.
You're welcome. You're welcome.